Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know me, I am Karen Whittemore. I am a family nurse practitioner. I have been in practice for more than 25 years as a nurse practitioner, and been in than that. I graduated back in 1992 as a registered nurse. And so I do have a lot of years of experience, and I have seen a lot of changes over the years with medicine and our delivery systems, how we document things, how we do certain different procedures. A lot has really changed over the years. And outside of medicine, I have seen a lot of changes and advancements too, things that we never dreamed were possible. And today I'd kind of like to talk about the LifeWave company and the patches. And I would like to talk specifically about grieving. I chose that topic after a friend of mine's husband recently died, and I have had several friends over the past year who have lost significant others or best friends or other losses. And my husband and I have been watching a lot of nature shows lately too. And I realized there is so much beauty and wonder in nature, and yet so much loss and tragedy too. Watching these sea turtles, as soon as they're hatched and they come out of the sand, they come out in droves, and they race to get to the ocean. And on their way, they're picked off one at a time, some by birds, some by crabs. Actually, they say that only 1 in 1,000 makes it from the sand to the sea. But if they actually get there, if they can actually get to the ocean, they can have a long lifespan of 80 years. And then watching a mother seal for 12 days, she nurses her infant. Only 12 days, and it is the richest milk on the planet. It has to be rich in order for that baby seal to put on enough fat to be able to survive the cold temperatures in the ocean. And on that 12th day, after she nurses them for 12 days, she says goodbye, and she has to go and feed herself, and we'll never see that baby seal again. Little polar bear cubs out in the wild. The mother's protecting them, but she also has to take time feeding herself. And if she doesn't guard and protect the cubs long enough, well enough, the adult male polar bears will pick off one of the cubs for food because it's easy prey. I mean, there's all kinds of these tragedies. It's just part of life. We have such wonderful moments, and we have loss too, whether it's a death or a loss of a job. Maybe it's a move, just having to leave your previous location that you loved so much and are having to go someplace different. All of these things, whenever we are in grief, no matter what the loss is, it is hard on our physical bodies. We are more likely to suffer from heart attacks and strokes, other conditions, just from all the stress. In fact, I had a patient, I think it was on New Year's Day this year, that his brother passed away that day. And then he ended up passing away from a heart attack that same day, just from the enormous amount of grief. These things play a role. So how can we protect ourselves when these things come at us? It usually comes on out of the blue. There's usually no warning to it, and all of a sudden we're in grief. There are some things that we can do that can help us. Sleep is a very difficult thing, and there are times, when we need to support ourselves a little bit more. That's the one patch I didn't bring with me to show you, but we do have some patches that can help with that. So let me tell you a little bit about the LifeWave company and the LifeWave patches, because this is a very unique way of being able to help our physical bodies. So the LifeWave patches have these little organic nanocrystals embedded in them. You remove the sticker off the back of it, and you just stick it onto your skin. You leave it on for 12 hours, and then you can remove it. But during that 12 hours, Our bodies are constantly emitting light. We are beings of light. We are frequent light beings. And that light frequency spectrum, it will hit the organic crystals, get spun in a specific frequency and spin back in a different frequency, telling our bodies as a signal to do this or that. So an example of frequency medicine is when we go out into the sunlight hits our bodies, and our bodies have that signal that tells us we need to start producing vitamin D. It is not giving us the vitamin D. It is an evolutionary biological system that is, it's like this lock and a key. And when we hit that, when we're hit by that vibration, it tells us, okay, it is time to start producing vitamin D. It's that same principle that these patches work with, and it will tell our bodies to do different things. In the example of the X39 patch, it is giving our body a signal to start producing copper peptide. And copper peptide alone has a lot of health benefits. It can help with the lining of our stomach and lung tissue. And it also, really special, it helps to stimulate our stem cells. So it is a way of indirectly helping with stem cells. And when we have our stem cells, we are able to actually repair old damage, repair wounds, help ourselves to thrive, because we're taking care of the old injuries. And we are constantly in a state of breakdown and repair. You know, even while I'm sitting here, there are parts of my bone that are being broken down, and there's parts of my bone that are hopefully healing and repairing itself. This is a constant thing that goes on in our bodies, and anything that we can have that helps support our regeneration and healing is going to be helpful. But with grief, I wanted to talk about some of the things that we can do to help with grief. And I don't have an example of, I didn't grab the Silent Night patch, but Silent Night and Alavida are patches that can be used during that time, because it is very difficult to sleep when you're going through tragedy, when you're going through hardship, and you're thinking about it over and over and over again. These things can help us with our sleep. But one of my most favorite tricks when we're dealing with your mind just can't stop going over these things over and over and over again is actually using a patch called Aeon. And this one, you can actually just kind of put it over the third eye on your forehead. And this can actually help bring down your cortisol, bring down the inflammation, and help calm the mind more so that you can sleep. So sometimes it's a matter of, okay, you're lacking in melatonin, or you're lacking in other things, and the Silent Night and the Alavida are wonderful for that. But when you're going through trauma, Aeon is actually a wonderful, wonderful patch to help with that, to help calm things down, to help lower the cortisol, which is usually quite high during any kind of tragedy or loss. So I love this patch. And when you're not sleeping too, you are going to have more inflammation in the body. So anything that we can do that can help bring down the inflammation, like the Aeon patch, without introducing other harsh chemicals, you know, if you're taking a lot of ibuprofen or things like that, it's going to bring down the inflammation, but it also has a risk of causing damage to your kidneys, of causing injury to your stomach, increasing the risk of intestinal bleeding and things like that. And this one is not going to cause any type of side effect, because it's just using your body's own light and signaling that light back into your body in a way that helps support your body, helps support you, that you can't be allergic to it. And people who are sensitive to the tape can actually put it on their clothing so that it's not touching their skin, and it will actually work through your clothing. Think of when you're looking at somebody through night vision goggles, you can actually see their light much further past their clothing or backpack. And that is because we have this warmth, this form of light, this far infrared light spectrum that emits very far out. Another patch that I like to think about is glutathione. And the reason why I think about this patch in times of grief is because usually when we're grieving, we tend to crave foods that are not the best. And a lot of times we're out on the road. Maybe we're having to travel to go attend a funeral, and it's not always easy to eat healthy on the road. We can be exposed to extra toxins. And not only that, but when we have a lot of cortisol in our system, we do tend to crave sugar because sugar will help to lower that cortisol. So I think there's a reason why we're biologically craving these things. It is helping to support us, but there's also a lot of toxins in all these processed types of foods, and anything that we can do to help us to get rid of some of the toxins that our liver is having to process through is going to be helpful. It's going to support us in a time of need. Another one that I really like is the carnosine patch. So carnosine is a wonderful thing to help with our brain health and our heart health. It really supports both. And during a time of grief, you really do need support for your brain and your heart. You know, like I said, this patient of mine died the same day that his brother did. Isn't that what happened to Carrie Fisher? I think when Carrie Fisher passed away, her mother passed away the same day. Just that grief, being overstricken by grief, is hard on the body. And so having a little Band-Aid, a little protection to help give us the support that we need during those times is very valuable. I had a patient, good friend of mine too, who had the loss of her dog, who was her baby. They were very close, you know, for 15 years. This was her child, and the grief was so deep. She said that her chest just hurt. She had so much pain. And she got thinking, well, what are you supposed to do for pain? Well, LifeWave. LifeWave is what you use for pain. So she actually took LifeWave. Now it has a tan patch and a white patch that work together. And she plastered them around her heart. She had about 6 different patches. So three brown patches and 3 white patches that she just plastered around her heart because the pain was getting to be so deep. And she was surprised that it really seemed to help. And she said that after about 3 days, she felt much better and felt like she was over the grieving. She really felt like the LifeWave actually helped her to get through the grieving process faster. I don't know if anybody else has experienced something like that, but it might be worth trying. If you are going through a grief process and you're having that chest pain, that's going to help that energy flow. So what's happening with LifeWave is it's helping to level out that energy. So in a time of pain, a lot of times we have too much energy flow into that area that's just all concentrated, or we have too little energy flow to that area. A lot of times it's that heavy concentrated energy that when you all of a sudden put the LifeWave patch on and start dissipating and having a more even flow of the energy, that it can create that cool sensation because it's not all hot generated in that one spot. It's more of a steady state, and a lot of people will experiencing a cooling effect, and that's why they called this product LifeWave. There are other people that will experience the opposite, not having enough energy flow to an area, and they might feel more heat as more energy is actually able to come into that area. So whether it's too much or too little, it helps to even that energy flow, and so that things aren't all consolidated and getting backed up, and that can cause all kinds of other problems when we don't have a nice even circuitry of our energy and electrical system. We want that even flow. So these are some of the patches that I think are so valuable when a person is going through grief. And then also the X39 too. It may not work directly for bringing down the cortisol as much, but it also has a hand in bringing up our glutathione levels, which is going to help support the detoxification of our bodies. It also is going to help with inflammation, and it's going to help with repairs. So when we're breaking down and really literally feeling broken down, think of this as helping us to repair things so that we are protected, so that we don't end up just crushed and demolished and unable to function, which happens so often with grief, and helps us to be able to cope and deal with things. And I know sometimes when we're dealing with grief and stress, we are not always at our best. And you've heard or have seen or maybe have experienced sometimes when families all get together for the funeral or the wake or the life celebration or whatever it is to get through the loss, sometimes people are not on their best behavior, and that can add to all the stress. So having these patches, the X39 and the Aeon to help us to be calmer, to be able to deal with things in a better way, so that we are not adding to the trauma, adding and making things worse for everybody. We're able to be a little bit calmer and maybe more reassuring and helpful and able to support other people around us rather than just falling apart and causing more damage everywhere we go. I just wanted to share that with you and hope that is helpful to somebody. If you know somebody who's going through a hard time right now and could use some support with a grief process, you may want to forward this video to them. Anyway, that's all I have to say today, and thank you so much for joining. I wish you all the best. Have an enjoyable Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.